Howdy folks, my name's Christian and welcome to Bullish on Farming. Today I'm just fencing up a hayfield quick. Was a last minute decision today. Cows are going to be in a laneway that we graze over there in about 2 or 3 days. And although we don't have water lines that reach out here, we have a gate that I can open up. And we got about 3 or 4, it's probably about 4 acres of hay right here. First cut was in June and this is grown out. We got some good feed. Good quality feed in here. And this would just be sitting dormant, which wouldn't necessarily be a bad thing. But since it's right there, I thought, this is about 2 days worth of feed for the cattle to graze in the right way, nice and light, to give it a fertilization and move on. So I thought I'd just show how I do this, because I do mention fencing hay fields and fields quickly. And the system I use is, most of you are probably very familiar with high tensile wire on a Lazy Susan right there. Just spins off an axle on my quad and I pull it all the way out to a corner. The posts that we're using are Kiwi Tech posts. It's a company out of New Zealand, and this is the post pounder right here. And those are the posts that we're using. So on the bottom is an arrow, and at the bottom of that pounder, it's hollow, and you just slide it right on top of that, and you just pound it into the ground. And there's a lever system on here that I kind of got buckled in with that twisty thing. And with that platform, you're actually able to pull these posts out with 5 times your strength. So although it may not get ripped out by a cow or a deer running full speed, you can pull it out with the tool. And I like to call these sub-permanent fencing, because these posts can stay in year after year through the winter and summer and hold their ground. They're made of fiberglass, so they flex and move. They're not rigid, and that's why they last so long. So Kiwi Tech, check it out folks if you haven't seen it before. We do like to use 12.5 gauge tensile wire because it is the perfect thickness for the cattle to see. Find the finer stuff a little too small, and I believe this is it's galvanized, so you want to be looking for that to stand the test of time. And I believe this is 190,000 psi. I'm not 100% sure. But with our corners, it's no fancier than a T-post. I kind of hammer in the T-post on an angle to accommodate both points of tension, which would be that way and that way. And when I pull the tensile tight, I'll actually put in 2 small stakes, and with some tensile or baler twine, I'll tie into the stakes to brace that post. And that works for me, and it works good enough. It can bear the weight, no problem. And so people are, have hay fields on their farm close by to some water, or could be grazing their cattle on it if they had it fenced. And some people think, well, to put up a page wire fence and all that, it's a big deal. Okay, well, our cattle are electric trained to electric wire. So we got a big farm here, folks. All right, so we got a lot of space. However, that's no excuse. I was gonna say we're not too worried about our cattle going anywhere too far. But here's the thing, our cattle actually never leave the fencing that they're in, okay? And I've run cattle before, not on this farm, next to highways with just tensile between them and the road. And I'll tell you, when those cattle are wire trained and you work with them and you know them well, especially if they're a very docile, benign group that is getting everything they need. They're not going out without feed or water that would make them think about hopping the fence. That tensile works great. And for insurance purposes, you keep it hot. That's the number 1 rule. It's always hot. You want that fence around 8 kV. Of course, through the season when you got a heavy workload and the fences go down to 5, that's okay. when you got trained cattle, it works. But typically you want to be running 8 kV through those at least. And when a cow gets a shock from that, they don't want to feel that again. And so they don't even test it. And why would they when they're eating this good? With our group right now, I don't know, I rounded out to about 50 head. I think it's just below that with the calves and steers and the mums in there. And this 4 acres will be 2 days of feed, easy. And you know, we don't want to hammer it too hard. It is a hay field, but we are looking to distribute some manure, get some cattle impact, and get some feed out of it and move on. And happy to do it. I started this afternoon at around 11 a.m. and I've gotten half a side on that side, that full side, and now I'm just finishing this full side, and we're about 2 p.m. So if I really wanted, I could have this fence done and the cattle in here tomorrow. But I don't need them in here for another few days because we still got grass before here. But this is perfect. And you know, I put in the posts and everything, conscious of when we have to do haying. So we can come through with the bine, with the rakes, with the baler. There's no issues along the edge. And we can do business as usual here on this hay field. But in the second half of the season, when we're not looking for second cut, it now becomes pasture. And instead of having an isolated fertilization program, which requires getting the manure spreader out and maybe spreading manure here, we'll bring out the cattle, manage their grazing, and distribute their manure in a beneficial way all throughout this field. Get the animals to do the work. Don't worry about it. Okay? And that's what it's all about. A little bit of front work just to put these fences up. We'll put in place our land management system. And although it just looks like a field, nature has it figured out, folks. I just put 1/10 or polybraid wire to split this field. Cattle get one side one day, open it up to get the other side the other day. And you've got a systemized distribution of manure while feeding your animals. Ain't that amazing? It's not rocket science, folks. And you know, before I came using these Kiwi Tech posts, fencing up fields in this kind of ad hoc fashion, guerrilla fashion, where you can just put it up and take it down if you really want to, never really popped into my head or was seen as much of an opportunity as it is now that I know about them. And I used them on another farm, and as soon as I came here, I said, listen, they're the best posts I've worked with. And I've grazed cover crop fields, you know, for farmers in the winter by just setting up shop on their fields and then taking off once we're done. The farmers planted all the feed. We just distributed manure on them, and we got the feed, and we did some good work on their fields, and we were done with it. And these are the amazing type of things that you can do when you open up your mind to what is possible with the land and your animals. So I think I'll leave it there, folks, because I really just wanted to focus on fencing. Hopefully some of you learned a thing or two. And thanks for stopping by. See you on the next one.